And we are live. Welcome, everybody. Yes, this is Nomad's channel. I am doing things a little different today because this was it's kind of an important issue which has been happening. All right, and I've got a number of conversation points to talk about this. All right, and of course I have our British friends here. All right, who probably look at this going, "What the hell's wrong with you, colonials?" Jensen and Sixer, say hello to the folks.
Hello. We always think that. Always.
This is actually very accurate. I can't really disagree, man.
Yeah.
Hello.
You see what this is like? They still have not forgiven us for leaving.
No, we don't care about you leaving. We're pissed off because you put through tea away. That is why we've never forgiven you. Okay? We don't care that you left. All power to you for leaving. You threw away tea. Never forget.
We all know.
The biggest crime you can ever commit.
We all know why you were trying to feed us tea. Okay? We all understand this.
Yeah, we were trying to make you civilized. We
failed. You're trying to keep us calm like Soma. You're trying to keep us drugged up and happy.
And your point being?
All right. That's not the drug of choice. Coffee is. Hyperactive. Hypercaffeinated, hyperactive. It's the best way to go.
No, Mads. No, coffee is not the drug of choice in America. It's fentanyl, and you know it.
Fentanyl.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Oh, my God. All right. Now, Sixer.
Yes.
You weren't here earlier when we were discussing things with Jensen. Jensen knows what this topic is really going to be about already.
Is it the Roe v. Wade?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
All right, we're going to start with all I've got is really two articles to look at.
I was actually watching a replay of Tim Paul live, and it was just coming in the news about it. So yeah.
This is there's a number of different things about this. All right, so let's get started. Let's get started. Reporter speaks about breaking the story on the Supreme Court abortion rights leak. A reporter who broke the story about a majority draft opinion signaling the Supreme Court is ready to overturn abortion rights, all right, enshrined in the Constitution. This is not inaccurate. All right, since Roe v. Wade. So it's enshrined in the Constitution since 1973. All right, you can see how the discussion of this article goes. All right,
yeah.
Josh Gerstein, all right, a senior legal affairs reporter for Politico, said he is confident in his sourcing and the authenticity of the document for the report. He shares a byline with the national security reporter Alex Ward. All right, now. Before we get into the Roe v. Wade issue, which we'll discuss in the next one, the first question is does anybody see anything wrong with this?
That it was leaked, because you know what's going to happen. Now I'm going to give time to create absolute merry hell and try and overturn it. It's not supposed to come into effect until 2 months. You think the left and the anti-fair group are going to come out and call?
Oh, they've already started.
Yeah, exactly.
they've already started. In fact, the Capitol Hill police have already started to try and barricade the Supreme Court.
This is why it was leaked, because this is what wanted to happen.
All right, but this is the first time anything from the Supreme Court has been leaked.
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
Makes you wonder who in the Supreme Court leaked it.
All right. Well, we know who leaked it.
And it's someone who's in support of these who's in support of these mass killing killing factories.
All right. Now, the reporter here doesn't seem to think that he did anything wrong.
Of course.
All right.
Of course.
And what's more is he shares a byline with a national security reporter. Do you understand why I consider these people vermin?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah.
These people are not good people. These people are scum. They're not trying to get the truth to the people. These are the same people, right, who killed the Hunter laptop story.
Shit stirrers.
These are the same people who killed the Harvey Weinstein story before it kept getting out, all right, just how bad it was. People forget this. Harvey Weinstein only went to jail, all right, because he had an incident in New York City with a maid. Yep. Where all of a sudden now we're hearing the decades and decades of abuse that was happening in D.C., but it took a maid claiming that she was assaulted by this creep, all right, in New York 2 years ago.
He can't help but keep his all
right, and these people, specifically NBC. I'm sorry for I'm kind of over speaking to you. These people, specifically NBC, had stories about Harvey Weinstein and constantly killed them.
May I step in here with a similarity amongst the British? You have your Harvey Weinstein. We had Jimmy Savile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, BBC. What the BBC covered up?
The BBC covered it up, the Royals covered it up, the police covered it up, everybody covered it up.
Yeah.
This man was well known as dodgy as all hell, but nobody dared speak up against him.
But
go on, mate.
I'll say, but another thing that's quite similar to it was the Irreverent case.
Yep. But it was truly appalling how much Jimmy Savile got away with. And the bit that really bugs me, it was actually the one thing that gets on my nerves so much, he got away with it because he died and was never punished. That appalls me.
Yeah, well...
If there is a hell, I hope he burns.
I mean, within our country, okay, this kind of crap goes on. Yeah. And yet they're going to sit up there and preach about our sources are sacrosanct. No, your sources are shit, and most of them are criminals. All right, and are committing criminal activities. All right, now don't get me wrong. All right, there's a line there. There's a hard line. All right, between somebody giving you a story and you reporting it versus you going and getting the information and working with that individual to steal documents. Okay, I realize some people think of it as a fine line. But it's an important line. It's an important distinction. It's one thing to commit criminal activities yourself. It's another thing to sit up there and just be there when somebody hands you a document and asks you to report on it. Okay, but this guy is scum. Now, let's get to the Supreme Court. All right, the Supreme Court has voted to overturn abortion rights. It was never a right. What's the problem with it? The draft opinion shows, we hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled, said Justice Alito, writes in the initial majority draft circulated inside the court. Now, if Justice Alito wrote this, it's part of a draft for the majority, all right, to then edit. All right? Does it make sense?
Okay.
Who knows what the wording is actually going to be like in the actual opinion. All right, the Supreme Court has voted to strike down the landmark Roe v. Wade decision according to the initial draft majority opinion written by Justice Samuel Alito, circulated inside the court and obtained by Politico. The draft opinion is full-throated, unflinching repudiation of the 1973 decision which guaranteed the federal constitutional protections of abortion rights and subsequent 1992 decision, the Planned Parenthood versus Casey, that largely maintained that right. Roe was egregiously wrong from the start. All right. We hold that Roe must be overruled, he writes in the document, labeled as an opinion of the court.
Absolutely.
Now, the thing is we don't know if this is going to be the majority opinion or if it's going to be an opinion written supporting the majority opinion, or if it was going to be just an opinion. All right, we actually don't know what the fallout of this is, all right, or what the decision is. Right, it's time to heed to the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives. And this is now the issue. This is what I have been trying to state for the longest friggin' time. When does life begin? When does human life begin? Now, I don't know what your opinion is on Sixer on abortion. All right, I've heard some of Jensen's. All right, because Jensen is not a hardline anti-abortionist. All right, you said that you think of it as birth control it's abhorrent as birth control.
Yes.
Absolutely disgusted at that.
Abortion is, I think, though, to me, at one time, I used to think, I used to be pro-choice. You know what changed?
What?
The birth of my daughter.
That doesn't shock. Yeah.
Birth of my daughter kind of changed that for me. I'm pro-life, and always will be. I'm not even a religious man, and I believe that life begins at conception.
Yep.
Well, it's not a religious necessary thing. It's something that society has a whole. And this is the problem with the whole abortion.
But like I said, I believe life begins at conception.
No, and I understand.
But
you're willing to state that, right?
Shut down. These killing factories should be shut down.
You're willing to state when you believe life begins, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell me why none of the quote unquote pro-choice people are willing to sit up there and answer that question?
Because they can't keep their fucking legs together. Or use a thing called a condom, or a child is apparently an inconvenience.
All right.
There are other options: either use a condom or go full term and give the child away for adoption. I'm sure there's plenty of parents out there who want a child who can't have children.
Yep.
Well, okay. My point here, and I agree with you. I actually do agree with you, Sixer. All right. Because once the life begins, it's already begun. It's alive.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, you can't tell me the fetus is not alive. You can't tell me the fetus is not dependent upon the mother. But then again, there's no baby in the world that's not dependent upon the mother, whether it's in the womb or outside of the womb. Right, that's reality. All right, but it is growing. All right, not from her. It is growing on its own.
Yes.
Its development is not dependent on her necessarily. For example, if a woman is brain dead, can a child be born? The answer is yes.
Yes, because right at that time the mother is currently an incubator.
Yes. Now, I know a lot of
possibly about to get myself in trouble now. By the way,
go for it. Well, it never stopped you.
No, true, but I thought all women were brain dead. Hey, Shirati.
Shirati enters the room.
Well, you can't claim Shirati is brain dead. I mean, it's just circuitry.
No. I'm actually surprised you actually said that you can't claim she's a woman. Oh, okay, cool.
Well, which goes to another thing, because if you're going to tell me it's a woman's right to choose, well, men can have can have babies too, right? Isn't this just as much of an issue of men as women, according to especially in American and British law, right? Listening to the transgender folks.
Yeah.
Actually,
that's a good point. If it's a woman's right to choose, but men and women can both have babies, that means it's not a man's right to choose.
Oh dear.
Just saying.
No, it's just a transgender thing. It's transgender garbage.
All right. The problem has always come about, right, with America, right, on this decision, in that our society didn't make this choice.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And this is something I tried to point out about the heinousness of Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade was just an absolute ridiculous ruling.
Abomination.
All right. It was a ruling that, when you go back far enough, right, goes into the 14th Amendment, I believe, right?
Remind us, the 14th Amendment.
The 14th Amendment there were 3 amendments that basically were put in right after the Civil War, all right, to enfranchise the African Americans, make sure that slavery was more or less outlawed in America, although not
right.
technically outlawed.
Okay, gotcha.
All right. people don't know that, by the way. Technically, we could still have slaves. Did you know that?
No.
All right. Technically,
we do anyway. Legal.
Well, no,
people
not for the legal immigrants. What the law basically says is that it does not permit slavery unless you are basically sentenced to a slave. You could literally receive a sentence to servitude.
Yeah, indentured servitude. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Yep. Well, a sentence to servitude makes you a slave, right?
Yeah.
So, guys, Shirati's asked me to read out this comment. I'm willing to state when life should not be allowed to be taken from fetus. 15 weeks. She has given you an opinion.
That's fine.
Right.
Opinions are like arseholes. Everybody's got one.
Well, no.
This is a fair statement.
In America, though, that's a great statement for America, because in the United States today, right? Let's assume that this ruling came out today. Let's just assume that, and it's everything that these loony left lunatics are kibitzing about.
Oh, the right up to birth for them, innit?
All right. Well, let's assume that that's what that's everything that they said it is, right? The reality is it overturns Roe v. Wade. You know what it doesn't overturn?
What's that?
Abortions taking place in America.
Illegal ones.
Right? Well, no, because it goes back to the states, and the states get to define what life is, which is what has to happen.
Tell me about that.
Each state will have its own rule when it comes to this. Like New York has already made it completely legal to even kill a child, all right, even after the child's been born. Most people don't know that.
I thought that this thing was supposed to stop all that.
No, this has nothing to do with that. This ruling only sits up there and takes away the concept that it's a constitutional right for a woman to have an abortion. Now, each state will determine on its own whether or not abortions are legal or illegal.
So it'll be back to red state, blue state, then, isn't it?
That's exactly what it is. But that's how the Constitution was supposed to work.
So nothing's changed. So nothing's changed then, really.
Well, what's changed? No, because the ruling initially said you have to allow abortions even in the red states. Now the red states can ban abortions.
Yeah.
Which is why the red states kept trying to ban abortions. Why this kept coming up again and again and again. Because this was never a decision made by their legislatures, by the people's representatives, as to when life begins. And that is the crux of all of this. All right? Everything still comes down, no matter how you look at it, when you've got to determine when a human life begins, okay, and needs and deserves, all right, societal protection. All right, that is where all of this revolves around. It has to revolve around it that way.
One problem, Nomad. You're hoping that people that can't actually work out what a woman is can work out the age of life being. I'm sorry, mate. You got a lot more hope on these people than I actually have,
I'm not asking for hope here. I'll be honest with you, because I have no hope for those people. All right, that's why they live in New York and California.
Fair point. Yeah.
All right.
I
don't want them coming to. I don't want them coming to my state. Okay. I really don't. I don't want them. I want them to stay and think happy thoughts about themselves in those freaking cesspools that they create for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But all this did was return the power that was meant for the states to decide on these issues, right? And take away the federal overreach. Roe v. Wade was legislation from the bench. It created, out of whole cloth, 2 new rights, by the way. The right to privacy, all right, and then the right to an abortion. And look at all these people who are freaking out. You can go on Twitter right now and you will see all the freaking loonies out there. We gotta get federal action on this. There's your problem. Why? Why do you need federal action?
Why do you think it was leaked?
Most of you live in New York. Most of you live in these freaking cesspools of liberalism. All right, your abortion are perfectly legal there.
Then they need to keep it there, then not bring it over to the other red states.
Right.
I'd like to respond to something Sharatia said. She says condoms are expensive, so is birth control. Women will die because they tried to self-abort or back-alley abort. I'd like to argue that, and I don't know how it works in America. I can only say based on England. But we actually give out free condoms if you go to the... Sorry, mate, what was that?
Yeah, so I'm just agreeing. Go on.
Yeah, if you go to sex clinics, they actually will give you free condoms. And I don't mean like 2 or 3. They will give you a big bag full of the bloody things.
How about keep your dick in your pants?
Oh,
that would be the
we're talking about blokes here. Come on. This is a man.
This is a fair thing. Well, not just men. I mean, come on. No, seriously though.
24/7. Come on. Even at my age.
Yeah, seriously.
All these women that wanted abortions.
Well, yeah, they need to keep their legs together then.
They don't want the one thing that has been driving our country into the ground, which is self-responsibility and accountability.
Yeah.
It really comes down to the same thing. You got people running around going, "Oh, you're forcing them to have a baby." Well, maybe they should have got yourself pregnant in the first place.
Sorry. Shouldn't got yourself pregnant in the first place. Keep your legs together. Use a condom. I don't care if it's expensive. If you can't get one, then bloody don't do anything.
Well, the reality is condoms.
Do not
I don't
take
know how expensive our condoms are anyway, but because I've actually never used a condom. Right? I've never purchased one. Okay, and the only concept of condoms that I personally have any kind of reference to comes from the military, where once again they were given out for free if you wanted them.
I mean, when I was during my nightclubbing years, going to the toilets and you say condom machine, it doesn't cost much to actually get one. It's about £1, I think, just to get one condom out of there, or one pack of condoms. So again, bullshit.
Yeah, but the whole thing about this idea is it still comes down to irresponsibility. You come back and say why, and I've made this comment too. Why is it that it's your intention to hold the man accountable upon the action of sex, but you have no intention of doing the same for the woman? And then try to tell me, well, wait a minute here, they're equal. No, they're not. It's not equal.
No, especially when it comes to the woman's decision to abort the child. Think about this is also the father's child. Doesn't he get a say? No, does he?
No, and that's another issue, right? But once again, these are things that should have been left up to the states and the legislatures and society to make these choices, not a bunch of black-robed freaking, degenerates, all right, from Washington D.C.
Jane, I'd like to respond to something. I'd like to respond to something Sharatia said. After all the brainwashing these kids have had, you expect them just to roll over and close their legs. No, I don't expect them to do that, hon. I expect them to think stupidity is not an excuse.
Exactly. Be responsible.
The idea going back to this idea that
if you're not going to get pregnant, there are other things that could happen when transmitted diseases is another thing.
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah, Shirati has an opinion for you, Six, so this one's all yours.
What's that? I don't see anything.
You are so fucking stupid if you think you're coming at me with that argument, Sixer.
Oh, whatever. Moving on. I'm sorry, you got me confused with someone who gives a shit.
Have you checked your back pockets? You might give a damn in your back pockets. No? Okay. No. It looks like you haven't got any, hun. Sorry. That's right.
Moving on.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, but the thing is it's not an argument. I'm not trying to make an argument. I'm trying to sit up there and point out that, number one, even when this ruling goes into effect, abortions can still take place in this country.
Oh, yeah.
All right? Yep. It's not going to change it. If you want to head somewhere else where abortions are legal, head on out. The idea that and this goes back to another thing. Abortions are expensive. The idea that Sharwari was, birth control is not as expensive as an abortion is.
It's like going to other countries to get plastic surgery because it's cheaper.
Yep.
Right.
Mm.
I mean, that's reality.
Mm.
Abortion is a medical procedure, right? And quite frankly, it can be used to save the life as well.
Mm. Yes,
that's a reality. Okay.
Mm.
But it should be something. It's not something that judges should ever have been involved in. And this is a problem that we have within our system right now, is the judiciary, and I have said this many times, has been out of control for a long time. And I've mentioned Roe v. Wade, but I go back further than that when I talk about the Miranda decision. Because they're all based on the same friggin' thing. No accountability for your friggin' actions.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Keep those legs together. Or use a condom.
How old is your daughter?
My daughter, she's 19. And she's not interested in things like that. Well, because she's autistic, so physically she's 19, mentally she's not.
I have a son that has issues like that too, but
yeah. So, and she's not interested in things like that. She's interested in Pokemon and playing Switch.
What the hell, Switch? I'm afraid to ask.
Switch, the games console.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nintendo.
Nintendo. That's all.
Nintendo Switch.
There are plenty of 30-year-olds that are supposedly not on the quote-unquote spectrum.
She's 19 years old, and that's all she cares about. That's all she cares. She doesn't care about anything else.
Yeah, but that's the way these younger generations. Like I said, there's plenty of 30-year-olds that
And
are
they're
the
soy
same
boys,
way.
yes.
And they're not on the quote-unquote spectrum that they all talk about.
They're soy boys, of course they are. That's a new type of spectrum, that is.
Right, but my problem, that's just one of the problems with all of this. Is people are acting like this is, oh my God, women gonna be dying in these back alley abortions. Bullshit.
Oh yeah, I know. God, that's all I ever bloody hear.
It's a bunch of bullshit.
No, they're not. Like I said.
Like I was saying, there's nothing stopping these people from going somewhere, right, to another state and getting an abortion. Right? Roe v. Wade, by the way, Roe and the Roe v. Wade, case, all right, actually lied to the court intentionally.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
Most people don't even know about this, but their whole argument was based on a lie that they presented to the court, or about how she got pregnant and everything else. All right, and when she admitted all that, and right then and there, well, you had a ruling that should have went against you, but you were not honest with the court. To be honest, they should have stood up there and put her back in jail for that. Now she has become less of a activist, abortion activist, and thinks that maybe this needs to go back to the states, all right? Because she's kind of started to realize how damaging Roe did. Okay, I'm not saying she is against abortion. I'm saying that she has changed her mind about it being decided by the judges. And one of the reasons that convinced her that was when she found out
killing children, and when these morons are not killing children, they're turning into trans.
Yeah, well,
drag
that's just
kids.
Grooming. That's child
Yeah,
grooming.
exactly.
That's really all this is about.
I was being polite.
I do have a question for you, Nomad. Okay, we hear all about this Roe v. Wade. You made it clear that Roe was the young lady. Who the hell was Wade?
Wade was the prosecutor in the case.
Okay, thank you. That's all I need to know.
Explains a lot then. Yeah, cool. Right, guys, I'm going to have to drop up because I said I've not long finished my scuba diving. I'm still got wet gear kit in the car. I need to get out.
All right.
You do you, mate. It's cool.
So thank you for having me on, and I hope to catch you all again. And I hope to get you back on British Are Coming again, Jensen.
Of course.
Okay.
I'll do my level best to be there, sir.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me. Take care, guys.
No problem. Bye-bye.
So long.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Unfortunately, Sixer had to bounce away. But no, the thing about this is what I've been trying to say. This is federal judicial overreach. There's two branches of the government that are out of control, right? Completely out of control. Okay, one is the judiciary, right? The other one, all right, of course, is the executive branch. And the branch that was supposed to have oversight to prevent both these branches from getting out of control was the legislative branch. But they've basically abrogated their responsibilities in a lot of these cases, which is one of the reasons why we're dealing with this situation, right? So there's a lot of issues that are revolving around this. Now, what they want to do right now, what the leftists want to do right now, is they want to ram through abortion on everybody. They think that everyone agrees that partial birth agrees with partial birth abortion, right? Or no limitations on abortion at all. There's not a state in the union that sits up there and says it has banned all abortions. By the way, that's another thing. Okay, there are always cases that could be adjudicated, right? But it never should have went to a federal level. It should have remained at a local level. The problem with this is that so much of this nonsense that the left has infiltrated our country with has come not through the legislative process, but through these friggin' courts.
Yeah, there's matters, but they literally want post-birth abortion now.
Yeah, New York basically legalized
appalling.
it. New York legalized it. Matt's country. I call it Matt's country, but because he lives in New York. Yeah. But New York legalized it. That's what they did.
But that's murder, literally. And I mean, again, different country. Perhaps you got rules that we don't. I might be confused, but I thought murder was illegal.
How do you define murder? And before you define murder, you have to define when life begins. This is why it's critical to define that. Something that they never wanted to do. See, this is what all these leftists want to do. They want to avoid the fact that they now have to tell us when they think life begins.
Yeah.
Because they're moral cowards. And all you moderates out there, like Styx Hexenhammer, you're a moral coward, sir. Yeah. If somebody comes up and kills you, all right, that's considered illegal because you have a quasi acceptance of the state of your life. But you don't want to sit up there and give that to a baby. Why?
Don't forget, if a pregnant woman is attacked in the streets and the child dies, but the woman doesn't, it's still considered assault and then murder on the baby, even though the baby, by their own argument, true.
And that was another issue that was coming up there. How's it going, Sean? I was gonna.
We're subtle, aren't we?
It's not just a matter of a woman's, responsibility or a man's responsibility or societal responsibility or accountability, right? It comes down to this is something that should have been left up to the states to determine. That it was overreached by the federal government, all right, to when they decided on these cases. And I fully agree with the decision to say that this is not an inherent right. Okay? That you don't get inherent rights, all right, just because technology makes it available.
Yeah.
All right? And that's really what happened here, right? When you talk about the abortion ruling, the only reason that you have safe abortions today is because, well, technology makes it safe today.
True.
Well, how do you define a right? Well, it became a right when it became safe. Yeah. No.
Apart from that, technically, it's still not 100% safe. Shit can still go wrong. So the definition of the word safe is a questionable statement.
Well, it's a relative.
Pretty much, no matter what the term.
It's a relative degree. To a relative degree. You can't deny that, right? That it is a relative term in that regard. All right.
Oh yeah, no. It is safer than the way it was done in the past. Yes.
Right.
Is it safe? Again, questionable.
No, right. It's once again, it's a matter of, distinction, however you want to look at it. All right, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not a. It was never a right. It's not an individual
No.
right. It's not because as soon as you said, "Well, it's a woman's body," it's not the child's body. When
Mm-hmm.
when when does it become the child's body then? Right, and this becomes the same problem. When does human life begin? This is not. I realize it's a philosophical, distinction that most people look at, but it's an important distinction for your society to sit up there and make a determination on. Now,
Yeah.
if you want to say 15 weeks, as Sherardi does, as a collective, fine.
And again, I don't know for definite, but I've heard rumours that there's at least one group that wants to make 6 weeks. You heard about this?
Oh yeah, there's people that
Okay,
want to make
cool.
it in conception.
Fair point.
Don't worry about it, Sean. The thing is,
Thing is,
go ahead.
he's actually correct with this. If a baby's just a clump of cells, adults are just larger clump of cells. It's true. We are.
Exactly. So how do you where do you define it? That's why everyone's been talking about the quote unquote heartbeat law.
Yeah.
Right? Which is difficult as well, to be honest. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when can you detect the heartbeat? What is a detection of the heartbeat? Right? And
Yeah.
technology, once again, is going to redefine all that. Okay,
Well,
so that becomes something of a problem, right? It's
technically,
less. Go ahead.
the argument with the heartbeat law then actually says that everyone that's on life support systems that don't have an actual heartbeat of their own at that point in time should be executed because they're not life.
Well,
Even
they're not a
though,
human life at that point. Yes, that's very true. But
yeah,
that's
weird,
why,
isn't it?
which is why, like I said, the answer to these questions about this philosophical question by society is so critical, right?
Mhm.
And they don't want to answer it. I can go on Twitter
Yeah.
where all these freaking leftists lost their ever-loving minds, and I asked every one of them, right? Must have been a dozen people. When does life begin? Not one of them responded.
Of course not.
Right? Not one of them is willing to respond.
Yeah.
Well, why? Because you know what it means. Okay?
Yeah.
You know that what you've been advocating is heinous. It's depravity.
Yep.
That's why. They're not people like Styx Hexenhammer. He's not a good person. Right? He doesn't want to have to define these rules, right? Because he wants to be able to do what, doesn't want people held accountable. He doesn't want to look to another person and say, look, as a society, this is what we've determined. Deal with it.
Yeah.
If you want to live in our society, if you want to live in society, there has to be rules that we sit up there and accept. And guess what? I'm not going to agree with all the rules that you want to put in place. Because I don't.
Yeah. No.
I have to accept them. I'll be honest with you. One of the rules that we do in our society is we put in laws, all right, to say that I can't drive as fast as I want to in a car. I'll be honest with you. I think that's ridiculous in a lot of cases. It really is.
You feel safe doing those speeds, and you're willing to take the responsibility to do those speeds, then technically you should be allowed to do those
You've
speeds.
probably been banned on Shadow. Good morning, Chris. On Twitter, no, I'm positive I'm banned on Twitter. I'm positive I'm shadow banned on Twitter. I'm surprised I haven't been banned on Twitter, to be honest. I have a lot of hope that Musk will fix this.
Yeah. I haven't got faith that he will. I've just got hope he will. There's the difference.
Well, and if you want to know what I think about from these reporters, right? And I'll be honest with you, these people are freaking, like I said, they're losing their ever-loving minds. You can just take a look at this right here, all right, and you can see that they are losing their ever-loving shit on this. All right, look, this is from the Drudge Report. You can see everything here is in red, right? And then as soon as you get out of that area, Oh, what do we have here? A Washington Post reporter fabricates Drudge Report harassment. Really?
Mm. Well.
Does this surprise anybody that they would
No.
fabricate these things? And look who it is.
Well,
Taylor Lorenz.
I'm just stunned. You can hear it, can't you?
Shocked.
Dear.
Right? I'm shocked. What a surprise that a Washington Post reporter would fabricate stuff. We've known about this for a long time, that the left has been doing this. They've been giving Pulitzer prizes to themselves, all right, for fabricating this.
Yeah. What thing with it? Thing you got there in the middle at the top? Vogue Gilded Gala. You see that?
Yeah.
You don't have to click on it. You see it. Apparently, some woman turned up wearing gold body paint, and that was it.
I'll be honest with you. I think that that whole thing was just ridiculous. Why is anybody even going to it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right there tells you how out of touch they are with the country and how out of touch they are with things. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stories here. By the way, the Drudge Report is an aggregation site. Right. It's an anti-Trump, supposedly conservative aggregation site. They are very anti-Trump here, but it is an aggregation site. Right. Now, one of the things that they point out here, the Don Lemon sexual assault case was dropped by the accuser, right? Blames faulty memory. We know what the blame was. Here's your, yeah, my memory is faulty. Right? I got confused when that $100 million was handed to me.
Yep.
That's what that was, right? You have Russia accuses Israel of supporting neo-Nazis. I think you might be a bit off on that one, right?
That is kind of a bit odd. I noticed the ex-KGB agent Putin probably suffering dementia. No, really? I'm stunned at this.
Do you think
Putin?
Do you think Putin is suffering from dementia?
Actually, I don't. I'll be completely honest with you. I reckon there's just an excuse.
I think that it's wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Pope says he wants to meet with Vlad in Moscow.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Good luck with that.
El Papa. Hey, El Papa. You're only what? What is this? May now? Things started in what? The 1st of March?
Mm-hmm.
You're about 2 months late. I applaud him for doing it, but he should have been there 2 months ago.
Yep.
Let me tell you something. Another pope would have done this, right? Pope John Paul I, or second rather, would have immediately gone there to try and put a stop to this.
Yeah.
He would have risked his life to do this.
You know it's bad that Boris Johnson actually has gone to see the Ukrainian guy before anyone has actually made a move on anything here. Boris fricking Johnson. This guy couldn't find his ass with both hands, a map, and help. Okay, I'm going to put it bluntly. The guy is an idiot at best, but he had the nuts to actually go and talk to Zelensky.
Yeah,
I know it's not Putin.
He should have then gone in there and flown to Moscow. He
Fair.
literally should.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. And what he has the opportunity to do is what the Pope has an opportunity to do. Neither one of them will do it, unfortunately. All right, which is become a quick go-between between them. All right, to talking to Zelensky and go into shuttle diplomacy directly.
Yeah.
It's easier for the Pontiff to do it than it is for Boris to do it because he's got a nation to run. All right, so that's a little bit different, right? Especially considering how your system works. Okay, the criticality of your prime minister is for being in Britain. He needs to be there almost all the time.
Yeah.
Right? The country will not function well with your prime minister not in the nation. Okay, In the United States, that's not as critical necessarily for a president. However, if it's extended to a point, yes, you'll lose control.
And let's be honest, mate. With your current idiot, if he actually went out of the country, things would get better, and you know it. I'm not wrong, though, am I?
If he resigned, things would not get any better or any worse. Because he would just become all in charge. All right.
I've said this before, I'll say it again. You could always take the pair of them down to the Paris tunnel for a drive. I'm sure that'll do them the world of good.
Yeah. Well, there's that. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Stalker claiming to be priest spends night in Windsor Castle barracks.
And that surprises you why? The Queen has had so many stalkers visiting her. At one point during the 80s, she actually had a stalker visit her in her bedroom. As the Queen sat up in bed and was talking to him.
Okay. And you wonder why we don't think that you need to have guns everywhere.
Do you know what? That would have dealt with a certain problem very, very suddenly.
And what's more is after she was done with that, a few guards could have joined him.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just putting it out there for Phelan to do.
Yeah.
Did anybody get fired for that?
I don't know. Here's a really hilarious thing. Okay, after the guy doing this, amazingly, he actually survived to go to jail. That shocks the living hell out of me. Okay, there is only one way to deal with a person who's that stupid, and that is to give him a 9mm injection. Okay, there's no other way. I'm sorry. It's just you're that stupid. You don't deserve to live. Leave the Queen alone, you weirdo.
The Coldstream Guards near Windsor Castle were conned by a fake priest, claiming to be a pal of the base's padre. Right? The Ministry of Defense probe is underway. He was not rumbled. What the hell's rumbled?
Halt.
All right. He was not rumbled even after telling officers he had trained as an ejector seat pilot and had received transplants of internal organs resistant to G-forces.
Hey.
The imposter also bragged about having received a medal for bravery in the Iraq War. Astonishingly, the soldiers had allowed him into the Victoria Barracks, yards from Windsor Castle, without showing any ID or credentials. He claimed to be a priest and a friend of the Padre to the Coldstream Guards there. The intruder spun more tall tales as he spent the night at the officers' mess. But while suspicions grew, he was still given a bed for the night. You guys needed to sit up there and just beat him. What the hell was you guys thinking?
I don't know, mate. I genuinely do not know.
All right, you were in the military, as I was. Okay. Have you ever seen anybody brag about their medals?
No. It's just not a thing that we did. I mean, look, America might be different, okay?
No,
you guys.
No.
Okay.
We don't do that either.
No.
Okay?
It's just one of them things that happens, you know. They give you these little lumps of tin and you just shut up and, yes, sir, thank you, sir, you know?
Your peers are all there when you get an award, and you feel like shit because you're getting an award, right? You don't want to have to necessarily get the award. It's now I understand the reasoning behind it, but I always hated those things, right? The award ceremonies and everything.
Yeah.
I understand the reason for them more now than I did when I was in, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's things that have caused me to mature, much more now. But this this is just stupid. It's just stupid, right? Guys do not brag about their medals, right? I remember in basic training. This is a true story. Basic training, right? And in basic training, you get all sorts of different people. Most of us are just young kids, right? But there was one guy who was a bit older, and he was prior to service, but he'd been out for so long that they were making him go through basic training again, right? And we're like, okay, this is a guy to listen to, right? Because he knows what this stuff. But he was a quiet guy, and so we never really talked with him a whole lot, right?
Yeah.
Well, in basic training, of course, they teach you, folks, I know this is going to sound stupid. They teach you when to shit. They teach you when to eat. They teach you how to eat. They teach you how to dress. They teach you everything. They teach you how to clean. They teach you how to make a bed. All right? And when I say this, you're saying, well, I know how to make a bed. No, you got to make the bed the way the Army wants you to make the bed.
Oh, right? Yeah.
Am I wrong, Jensen?
Oh, no. It's absolutely accurate. If you do not do things the way they want, you are not doing it the right way because they said so.
They teach you how to put your clothes away in your little cubicle dresser drawer, right? And you better have your underwear rolled to specifications, okay?
Oh, yeah.
I know people are like, what the heck? But the Army does this, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that they do, of course, is they tell you, okay, these are, they give you all of your clothes, okay? And, of course, that includes your dress set of uniforms, right? Your dress uniforms. And in the Army, we called those the dress greens.
Yep. I always knew them as greens.
Right. So we had our dress greens, right? And they, in basic training, I think it was our 4th week. It was our 4th or 5th week, right? They had us stand inspection in dress greens, right? Well, while we were getting ready for inspection, this guy said, okay, what should I wear? Because, should I just wear, be like everybody else, or should I wear the, my medals because I was prior service, right? And they said, this is a full dress green inspection, bring all your gear, right?
Yeah.
So we're standing there in the inspection. This guy had a silver star from service in Vietnam. Okay?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now, people don't understand what it takes to get a silver star in the Army. Okay? It takes quite a bit to get a silver star in the Army. All right? It is a very highly, it's an award for high bravery, not just bravery under fire, high bravery under fire.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I want people to understand this. Right?
Yeah.
And of course, once we found that out, now we want to talk about this guy more about his experiences, but he never wanted to talk about Vietnam. He really didn't, which is not a thing. And so we're standing there in dress greens, in the inspection line, and the lieutenant colonel comes in because the battalion commander is inspecting us. All right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's coming down the line, and he stops at this guy, and he asks him about things. Because his uniform was completely different than ours, because he had a combat patch. He had everything, right?
Yeah.
And Lieutenant Colonel, all right, you got to remember when I went in, Vietnam had just closed, so almost all of the platoon sergeants, the drill sergeants, and all the officers above the rank of captain, right, all had served in Vietnam, right? So he talked to this guy for a while, asked him about several things, right? We're trying to, of course, you know how you're trying to stand at attention but listen in?
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then he turned over to the captain, and he said, "This man will never stand another inspection while he's here." We're like, okay, right? It's look, to get a silver star. I'll give you a story of somebody who received a silver star that I know from the documents and stuff. During Vietnam, this guy was a fairly big guy, right? And so they gave him the M60.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if you ever read about the documents, the people who got the M60s, right, were either the tallest guy or the shortest guy in the platoons, right?
Yeah.
And of course, these were the guys. The tallest guys got it because they needed to carry that weight. An M60 machine gun with all of its gear and everything with it is heavy as hell, right? It's fun.
Oh, yeah.
It's fun to fire. Okay, I can tell you that right now. The shortest guys got it because there were people like me who goes, I want the 60. Right? I don't want an M60. I want the 60. Which is why I was made the M60 gunner in the companies that I was assigned. Because I would go out of my way. Give me the 60.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Nice.
You're too small. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not going to complain about humping this thing. I want the 60.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's that satisfying that you get from a 60, right?
100%.
So you basically get the meanest people in the platoon, or the biggest guy in the platoon having the 60. Well, during a firefight that erupted, right, they were coming upon a series of huts across the rice paddies, and the enemy opened up on them, okay, from those huts, right? And they basically pinned the unit down below a berm, right?
Yep.
And so this guy ran to one side, jumped up on top of the berm, right, and just started unloading into the huts. Okay.
Fair.
And he was unloading. He kept unloading until these guys jerked him down. He thought, right. Meanwhile, his buddy, right, had run to the other side and had done the same thing.
Nice.
Right? So basically it created a,
Crossfire, yeah.
crossfire right through those huts and basically saved the platoon. But when he thought that these guys had grabbed him and pulled him down, what had happened is he'd actually taken a bullet through the bottom of his heel of his shoe, right? And it actually kicked him back down the berm. Right?
Lucky.
That guy got a silver star. That's what it takes to jump up there in the middle of these things and do that. And you, and I can't tell you what that must have been like, right? Because the guys were pointing up because he'd asked them, "What you guys jerk me down for?" They go, "Look above you," right? And of course, you've seen all the tracer rounds fly over his head, right? But while he was standing there, right?
Yeah,
they did this. Now, if you're talking about like a Congressional Medal of Honor, that's a different thing. I mean, that's even beyond that.
Are you saying they don't just hand those out? No. Well.
They do not just hand those out. One of the guys who got the Congressional Medal of Honor posthumously, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was known for, as soon as he was in an armor unit, right?
Yep.
But as soon as a firefight would begin, he would take the 60 off the tank and start walking into the woods straight toward them.
Nice.
All right, and he did this through several firefights. The enemy he actually had a name. The enemy were terrified of him.
I respect that, man.
Unfortunately, one time when he did that, they had called in an airstrike, and he died in the airstrike.
Ah.
Right, but you have to be absolutely close to nuts or what you have done to get a Congressional Medal of Honor. Right.
Yeah.
For example, Audie Murphy got a Congressional Medal of Honor during World War II by jumping on top of a burning tank, all right, and unloading on the enemy, all right, standing up there with the machine gun in the full open of everybody, all right, to fight off basically a company by himself of Germans.
Nice.
All right. Now think about that. It's a tank. It's on fire. There's ammunition there. These things tend to go boom. All right, and he stood there. He received wounds. All right, they shot him several times, and he just kept going. Right. That's why Audie Murphy was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. Right.
Yeah.
These are really high award. Obviously a high award for a Congressional Medal of Honor. Because it's awarded not by the DoD, or Department of Defense. It's awarded by Congress.
Yeah.
Right. But I'm a bit far afield. All right. But the country's constitution, the nation's constitution, back to the original thing, was to create separate states the federal power was supposed to be intentionally limited for all those people who think that the federal government is supposed to be everything. And it has overreached in a lot of areas.
Yeah.
To include things like the Department of Education, all right? To include a lot of the Department of Environmentalism, all right? These things did not and should not have existed. The FDA, people forget this, the FDA was only supposed to come into existence, all right, to prevent snake oil salesmen. It was to prevent people from claiming a product did something from a healthcare perspective that it did, okay? In other words, well, this cures cancer, and you come find out it doesn't cure cancer at all.
Yeah.
That's what it was supposed to be in for. And it ballooned into, well, we're the ones who are going to determine whether or not a drug is actually used by the government or not. There was no need for that. It's federal overreach. And for the longest time, the states just acquiesced to this shit. Okay?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Ever since the abortion ruling, all right, there has been a fight in the courts forever. How much time has been taken up in the courts that didn't need to be taken up in the courts because they could have just settled this by people in whatever state that you want sitting up there and saying these are what our rules are for when life begins. And guess what? Those rules can be changed by the legislatures.
Yeah.
If people want to say that life begins at conception, they can do that. If they want to sit up there and say that life begins, all right, after birth, I'm not sure how you would define birth, but that's a separate issue, all right?
Yeah.
That's their choice.
Yep.
In the Roe v. Wade thing, I was telling people before about this. Roe was very upset when she found out that her lawyer, while she was arguing the case, right? Her lawyer flew to Mexico and had an abortion. And didn't tell her. And she was like, I could have gone to Mexico and gotten an abortion? She didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
There was not... Now,
so,
go ahead.
One last thing with this whole, I want to ask. Dumb question time, but when did this whole Roe v. Wade thing occur? As in what year?
73.
73. Okay, thank you. Carry on.
73. I'm pretty sure it was 73.
Okay.
I'll look it up to make sure.
Alright, even better. Cool. It was just, so I had the rough idea of the sort of laws that were around at that time.
Yeah, it was decided on in 1973, in January 22nd, 1973.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it was a 7-2 decision.
Okay.
Right, which was a bad decision.
Yeah.
The Miranda decision, which is Miranda versus Arizona, right, or another one. These are bad decisions. Okay, they are bad decisions decided by the court. The courts are not perfect.
No.
Okay. And the one thing that the courts should have learned from past decisions, right, is you need to sit up there and stop trying to make decisions for the legislature. Right?
Okay.
And I know why they're terrified of doing that. Okay? They're terrified of actually telling the legislature to do their jobs, right? Because of the Dred Scott decision. Right? Now, in the Dred Scott decision, the initial decision was not wrong. Okay? And what that was, quite frankly, the initial decision was whether or not someone is a citizen of the United States or not a citizen of the United States, right, has to be determined by Congress.
Okay.
Okay? But see, Congress didn't want to make that decision. And then the court went nuts because it turned around and said, anybody who's black, and this is true, if you read the decision basically said, anybody that's black is no longer a U.S. citizen.
Oh.
Right?
Okay.
No, this is absolutely stupid.
Yeah.
All right, there was no reason to make it to add that bit in there, right? But it's one of the reasons why you end up with a lot of violence taking place, because one of the things that could happen because of that decision was you had people literally from the South going into the northern states, grabbing whatever black person they could capture, right, and dragging them back down south and selling them.
Yeah.
That's what you had going on. That. Now, was that illegal? Hell, yes, it was illegal. Even by the rules, because slave trading was supposed to be outlawed. Their excuse was, well, these people were slaves already. We're just recapturing the slaves. Well, then, that's what they're trying to do, right?
Yeah.
So you can see where obviously this the country was not happy about this. You can see where gunfights took place.
Can't imagine. I thought everyone would have been fine with it. Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There was a Twitter post where a guy sit up there and said, "Should Democrats sit up there and fight harder?" Right. It was all over Twitter recently. Right. And of course, all these blue check marks are running around going, "Yes, yes, yes." Well, I was like, "Oh, really? Harder than you already have?" Well, considering what's left for you guys to fight harder, I guess you're heading to the range. I guess you're going to sit up there and start stocking up and buying ammunition, because all that's left is for you to violently try to do things.
Well, there is rumour that apparently a lot of the people on the left have actually been getting guns and getting in ammo, so that might not necessarily be a joke.
Okay, do you see a bunch of undisciplined loons, right, effectively handling guns?
No, but I do. But apparently they've been going for weapon training. So undisciplined is a very questionable term, possibly.
Well, let's see what kind of weapons training they actually have. All right.
I agree.
In order to actually do what they're looking for, right? These people are more of a danger to themselves than the people around them. The not effing around group, right? Down in Georgia, right? Demonstrating how stupid they are when they shot each other. Right?
That was beautiful.
And what's one thing to have it happen once, right? But it happened twice in about a month span.
Yeah.
And these were the ones that were trying to march around and act as trying to put on a show, which is all it was.
Yeah, as proved.
But one thing that I hope that this asshole, right? And what asshole am I talking about? I'm talking about Roberts. I hope Roberts is getting a good taste of this now, because it's on your court watch, right? Where the left basically threw away comedy, all right, and then released this information early.
Okay.
So, as far as I'm concerned, Robert was always worried about how the court has been viewed. How do you think it's viewed now, jackass? You're not worried about the Constitution. You're worried about your name in the court? This guy's a moral coward. We've put too many moral cowards. I had this other guy going up there on Twitter. Was all up in here. I knew when they said it was established law that they were lying. Like Ketanji Jackson saying she doesn't know what a woman is. Like you care. You don't care about people lying about the court. You've really thought about that the whole time. It's always been political with you.
Yeah.
This is the problem with the left. They've always wanted to put in people that were political. Okay, you politicized the court. Congratulations. Should it be politicized? No, it shouldn't be. But we've had jackasses, all right, making this. When you have a freaking Supreme Court justice, all right, walk up and go, well, yeah, we're going to decide this way, but in 20 years, it'll be a non-point. Huh? So in other words, you're making a decision not based on law. You're making a decision that, well, it's getting less. We won't have to deal with this, right? And that was Sandra Day O'Connor. And I believe she was talking about the Michigan law case, where basically you're talking about, using affirmative action, all right, to basically discriminate. And he goes, yeah, it's real discrimination. Yeah, it's against the Constitution, but we won't need. We're going to rule this way because in 20 years it's all getting better anyway. We won't have to worry about it. Mm-hmm. And she was put there by frickin' Reagan. Reagan, let me tell you, people think that all these Supreme Court justices that the Republicans put in there were great and wonderful. No, they aren't. Roberts was put in by George W. Bush.
Oh.
Roberts is an ass.
Hmm.
Now you can say, well, he's not on the right and he's not on the left. I don't care if you're on the right or the left as long as you sit up there and have a constitutional basis for things. The problem when you take a look at Roe v. Wade is there is no constitutional base. You've got to create, all right, an imaginary right that you then create another imaginary right based on the first one.
Yeah.
I've said this from the very beginning. It's bad law. It never should have been decided this way. It should have been decided saying, no, I'm sorry, you're going to have to make your own decision, and thrown back to the freaking legislatures of the various states to make their own choices. And by the way, in Roe v. Wade, Roe claimed that she was raped and only later on admitted, no, she wasn't raped. She just wanted an abortion. So she falsely presented the case to begin with.
Yeah, so about that lying to the court thing, I seem to remember that's a bad thing. I take it that doesn't apply if you're a woman.
Well, that's another issue. There's a case where the Idaho legislator, right, that I talked about yesterday.
Huh?
Okay, he supposedly was convicted of raping this 19-year-old. What evidence was in the case? Now, I don't know what evidence was in the case. There might have been more evidence, right? There very well could have been. But if it's a he said, she said thing and that's all you've got to go on, right? I'm sorry. I'm not going to believe you. Right? Well, I shouldn't say I'm not going to believe you. What I should say is you're not going to be able to convince me beyond a reasonable doubt. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
Because I've known too many frickin' women, all right, who have abused the system, all right? And let's be honest, there's plenty of people who are great actors, male and female, all right, that can put on a show.
Oh, yeah. I've known a few.
So if you're in a situation where it's one versus the other, how is it that you come back and go, well, this is beyond a reasonable doubt? How is that beyond a reasonable doubt?
True.
Now, if she comes back saying this guy, dotted my eyes and left me beaten and bruised and everything else, and of course they have pictures of her beaten and bruised and black eyes and everything else, okay, you have something aside from just her testimony that fits with the evidence. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
At that point, you're like, no, this something was coercive here, okay? If she goes back and goes, well, I didn't know what was going to happen. I hate to say this, but I looked at that entire case with Cosby, and Cosby could be the biggest scumbag on the planet. He may have drugged these girls. I don't know. But I do know this. You didn't walk up to his freaking room at freaking 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. in the morning, all right, without the expectation of sleeping with them.
Yep.
Maybe he gave you lewds. Maybe he didn't. Maybe you didn't want to get drugged. Maybe you did. I don't know. But I can tell you this, reasonable doubt, sorry, you don't pass that smell test.
No, I agree.
And the same thing goes with that woman, all right, who got frickin' Mike Tyson convicted. Now, Mike Tyson is not, let's be honest, Mike Tyson is a violent individual. Okay? There's no doubt about how maybe they wanted to put him up. Matt, Mike Tyson is a violent individual. We all know that Mike Tyson can be violent, right?
Yes.
That's not a surprise. But the woman who got him convicted of rape, all right, to say that she walked up in his room and just wanted his autograph, you're full of shit, lady. You were up on him. And this is things that they didn't allow certain testimony to be in. Like, for example, they wanted to bring in, as they were going up the stairs, there were witnesses that said she was hanging all over him and she was kissing on his neck and things like that. No, I don't believe you were raped. I believe that you stood up there and engaged in consensual sex with Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. Let me put it this way. It's not reasonable to doubt that. Okay? It's more than reasonable. It's a reasonable doubt that I have that he raped you at that point. So Mike Tyson, in my opinion, never should have gone to jail for rape. I honestly to this day, there's no... What evidence did you have?
One sec. No, Matt, he doesn't hate ears. He likes them. He likes to nibble on them. Evidently, that's the problem, is he's nibbling. He's nibbled a little bit hard at that one very specific time.
This was her nibbling on his neck, not the other way around.
No, I'm actually talking about...
I know what you're referring to. I just chose not to go there. Anyway, unfortunately, I'm going to have to end the stream. It's time for me to get ready to go to work. All right? I hope that everybody enjoyed everything. I hope you all enjoyed it. Do you have any last words there, Jensen?
Not that make any real sense. I would just say thank you very much, everyone, for coming along. It was actually highly enjoyable. And if Sixer happens to be listening, thank you very much for coming in, mate.
All right. Everybody have a good day then. Thanks a lot for coming out. Bye-bye.